Hey, how's it going everyone? It's me, it's Count here with a brand new Pokemon GO video, and today we're going to be talking about this Dragonspiral Descent event and all of the backlash that Niantic is getting as a result of this event. Honestly, it just seems like Niantic is never going to listen to the community whenever we give feedback, and it's just really unfortunate because this event was gearing up to be one of the most hyped events, but Niantic severely dropped the ball with it, and I'm going to be talking about all of that in today's video. So let's roll the intro and jump right into it. Alrighty, so in case you were not aware, the Dragonspiral Descent event had just kicked off in Pokemon GO. You probably noticed a lot of dragon spawns in your area, or actually you did not, because the event spawns were not necessarily all tied to dragons. It's really unfortunate because this could have been a really cool dragon themed event, but unfortunately for some reason Niantic decided to have a whole bunch of other spawns that are not necessarily related to dragons, and that is just one of the things that the community is very unhappy about. But the big thing that a lot of players are taking issue with is of course the way they released Druddigon, which is of course the new dragon that they're introducing into Pokemon GO. They did the cool thing of releasing its shiny form along with it itself, and a lot of players were pretty hyped up about that until they found out that it's pretty much locked behind a paywall. Now of course there are some free-to-play methods for getting this Pokemon. It's not completely locked behind a paywall, but unfortunately the most conventional way that you're going to get this Pokemon is going to be through raid battles, which may require you to spend money into this game, and considering that Reshiram and Zekrom are currently out in raid battles, a lot of players will most likely use their raid passes for those and then have to fork out either a premium raid pass for Druddigon. And it's really unfortunate because this Pokemon does have the potential to be a menace when it comes to dragon types, and it does have a lot of PvP potential as well, so I know a lot of players will be looking for this one. And on top of that, it is a really cool looking shiny form that a lot of players will want to get. It's kind of like a spikier version of Dragonite, and I do know a lot of players are interested in getting that aesthetic. But if you want the shiny form of this Pokemon, unfortunately you will most likely have to do a whole bunch of raids, because one of the two most common ways you can get this Pokemon is going to be either through raid battles or field research, and unfortunately the requirement for that field research is to raid 3 times, so in general you're just going to have to raid for this particular shiny if you want it. Now I know a lot of players out there will not necessarily care about getting its shiny form, but a good number of players will, and the fact that they are not able to get this Pokemon out in the wild, it's going to rub a lot of players the wrong way. This is once again Niantic being really greedy and putting a very special Pokemon behind a paywall, and a lot of players are just fed up with that. And the icing on the cake, so to speak, is that for the first 4 hours that Druddigon was out in New Zealand, you were not able to get the shiny form because they forgot to turn on the shiny form. And I mean, this is just kind of embarrassing at this point if you think about it, because not only did they just stumble the release of this particular shiny, but they didn't even turn it on for the first couple of hours. So for a lot of people who were doing a whole bunch of raids for this shiny, they were not even able to get it, and they lost out on those raid passes. Listen, I was actually looking forward to this event considering that it was a dragon themed event, and I was really thinking that they would handle this really well considering all of the backlash that similar events like this have had in the past. You would think that Niantic would have learned their lesson by now, but unfortunately it just doesn't seem that way. I mean, even with this event, the way it is formatted, it just seems very lackluster, like there isn't any kind of special bonus. It's just a bunch of various different spawns that are somewhat dragon themed. I mean, a bunch of the wild spawns are not even dragon types. Like, there's Pokemon like Mareep and Vulpix in the mix. Like, I don't necessarily understand why they are considered a special Pokemon for this event. Like, you would think that they would fill it up with a whole bunch of dragons, like Pokemon like Axew and Dino. Unfortunately, these Pokemon are not going to be spawning as frequently in the wild. Axew especially, that Pokemon is not even part of the wild spawns, and Dino is of course going to be a super rare wild spawn, which you will likely not see a whole bunch of them. I really do think this event had a lot of potential to draw a lot of players during the holiday season, especially in preparation for the big holiday event that will happen at the end of this month. There was a lot of mystery surrounding this event because there wasn't a lot of information at the time that it was first announced, and Niantic just kind of dropped everything last minute, and unfortunately it just ended up becoming a lackluster event. Now I will point out that there's actually one little thing that is actually very positive about this event. We're actually seeing a discount to the remote raid pass bundle that's currently in the shop. So you can get 3 remote raid passes for 175 Pokecoins instead of 250. I mean, that is a nice little bonus considering that the raid activity is extremely high right now because of Zekrom and Reshiram, so giving players a little bit of a break by giving them a discount to this bundle is pretty good. Like, I will admit that. This is something that Niantic has never rarely did, and I'm really glad that they're doing it this time around. But when it comes to how they released Druddigon and how they geared the wild spawns for this event, it's just really disappointing. And I really do think that Niantic needs to take feedback into account, and I totally understand that they do need to make money, and this is one of the strategies that they do that. So I just think that they need to hit that balance, because every time they release a new Pokemon and lock it behind paywalls, like, it's going to frustrate the community. And I really do think that this is something they need to watch out for and just strike a good balance. I mean, all it really came down to is that they should have had a nice free-to-play method for getting a shiny Druddigon, whether it be a field research task that required you to do a lot of work. I don't know necessarily what they could have done, but they could have handled this a lot better, rather than locking it pretty much entirely behind raids. Now, I know there are certain people out there who will make the argument that you do not have to spend money in order to get a Druddigon. I mean, yes, that is technically true, but in order to get a shiny Druddigon, you will likely have to raid a whole bunch, and you only have 5 days to do so because that's how long this event is going to last. Which means, realistically, if you want a shiny Druddigon, you're going to have to raid a ton, and you're just going to have to hit it lucky, because you could do a whole bunch of these raids and still not pick up a shiny, and that is the unfortunate truth behind the RNG behind this game. So yeah, I would temper your expectations, and honestly, you're better off spending your raid passes on Reshiram and Zekrom anyway, considering that both of those do have their shiny forms out, and they're just going to be a lot more useful in raid battles. So in general, I just think that those are the Pokemon you should go for even during this event, and make good of a bad situation, because yes, there are going to be some very meta relevant Pokemon spawning in the wild pretty frequently, and it'd be good to farm up some XL candies for those. Like, for example, there's going to be a lot of Dratinis and Dragonairs in the wild, so you can get a whole bunch of Dratini XL candy so that you can max out your strongest Dragonites, which could be very useful in raids. There's also Darumaka spawning in the wild, and getting a whole bunch of Darumaka candy will yield you a really powerful Darmanitan for raid battles. That is one thing you should never ignore. I mean, of course, Reshiram is the #1 fire type attacker right now, but Darmanitan is also really strong as well. So yeah, overall with this event, I am extremely disappointed, because it just seems like by the end of the year, you would think that Niantic would have learned a few lessons from some of the mistakes they made over this year, but unfortunately it doesn't seem that way. I mean, a lot of this may not even be Niantic's decisions, but regardless of the fact, this is a pretty huge blow to the community, and I don't think a lot of people are really happy about it. Also, at the same time, maybe there's just a lot of people who just do not care. I mean, I kind of fall into that category. I mean, I don't necessarily care about events anymore. I don't necessarily get really hyped up for new shinies. It's just been how it is for the last couple of months. I've just been focusing on a lot of different things that don't necessarily involve the events. But yeah, my experience is obviously not going to be shared by the masses, and I would definitely like to know what you are specifically thinking regarding this event. Are you thinking it's a huge letdown, or do you just not care? Let's have a great discussion in the comment section below, so definitely share your opinions down there. And yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I just kind of wanted to share my thoughts regarding this whole thing, and I'm really hoping that in 2022, Niantic gets their act together and just find that right balance, because there is a lot of potential for some hyped up events. They just often get screwed over by a lot of these missteps, and I really just hope that Niantic will stop doing that in 2022. We'll just have to wait and see, but I do have my hopes up. And yeah, so that's going to be it for this discussion. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here. And I am Count Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I will catch you all later.